Hi guys! So recently I've been thinking a bit about planner slumps and how to avoid them, and I thought I would share my musings with you. This was inspired by a video on planner boredom that I saw by Ms. Samantha X. I'll link it down below. So basically, to me, I think a planner slump is kind of related to a planner fail, or it can lead to a planner fail. Essentially, it's when you just aren't really digging your planner anymore. And I think that there are a few different reasons why this can happen. And there are some things that I have done when this has happened, kind of just experimenting, stumbling upon things that seem to help. So I was sort of just curious to share it with you and see what you think. So I think there are, a few different reasons that this can happen, which can range from, things like you've just seen a new planner that you really, really fancy, and all of a sudden the one that you've been using just doesn't look so appealing anymore. This is what Miss Trenchcoat refers to as shiny object syndrome, which I think is a thing, definitely, for the planner addict community, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because one of the reasons that we have this as a hobby is that we like experimenting with different planners. So I think it kind of only natural that sometimes you see a new planner and you really want to try it out. And then because, sadly, there seem to be only a relatively finite number of uses that one person can think of for using different planners, you kind of sometimes reach your limit and then you have to switch something out. So I think that's one reason. Another reason is that the layout, it just isn't right for you, or, it's not right for the purpose that you want to use it for, or maybe even the type of planner, or there's something in the aesthetics. So I'll talk about each of these in turn. So I think that one thing that can really help, and it has helped me anyway, in some cases, is to decorate your planner. So I know to decorate or not to decorate is a whole topic on its own, and I've done a video on that, which I'll link down below. But I think, so it's not that I'm saying that decorating your planner is a cure for all ailments, but I'll just give you an example. This is my A6 Hobonichi, which is my daily planner. And when I first started using this planner, it was really just totally undecorated, purely functional. It was just a to-do list. This is what it looked like. And it didn't occur to me to decorate it because I was just like, this is kind of like my emergency. I am very stressed and I just want to see everything I have to do in the day so that I can go through ticking it off planner. And that's what I intended it for, and it just somehow decoration seemed like kind of frivolous, or I don't know, it just didn't occur to me in this context of wanting to get stuff done. But then I actually got the idea from watching a video by the Sassy Pineapple on her daily planner, which had essentially exactly the same function, and she put in some stickers and it looked really nice, and I thought, there's no reason why I couldn't put some stickers in. And so a lot of you have seen this before. I started, very, very modestly, just, putting in one sticker here or there. And then as the time went on, you can see the stickers kind of grow. And then there's a sort of sticker explosion. By the time I get to the present day, stickers everywhere. And I've talked about this as well in another video. So this somehow, it's not like I was in planner fail as in I wasn't using this. You can see I was using it, pretty much every day, but it wasn't exciting. And I think that this is one of the things that kind of we look for as planner addicts and, people who are really into planners. You want it to be exciting, because if you're excited to look at your planner, then that makes you want to open it and want to use it. And then that makes you feel more in control of your life, and it makes it easier to get things done. And it makes it easier for you to look forward to tasks that you might otherwise dread. If you're, for example, I think many will agree with me, doing the laundry is not the most exciting thing in the world. But if you have a really adorable laundry sticker, such as you get in here, this is one of the amazing Mambi value packs, which I'm totally addicted to now. I can't wait for January to come so that I can use one of these laundry stickers in my Leuchtturm weekly pretty planner, because I think that this will just take laundry to a whole nother level. And, getting to put a cute sticker on just somehow makes you excited about the task, in the way that if you just wrote do laundry, you'd be like, oh, I have to do the laundry. But if it's a happy sticker, then you're like, oh, laundry sticker. That's how I feel anyway. And this has happened with me to some extent in this planner, but I think I haven't taken it to the level that I could, because I really want to, that's what this planner is for. If you saw my video on my pretty planner, which I can't wait to be able to start using in January. And as you can see, I've got so carried away that I've already started setting it up. And so I think just having like kind of bright, colorful quotes and, you know, like motivational messages and also designs just can really make a big difference. And so now for me, it's a completely different thing. Whereas when I first started using this in July, it was just a purely practical, functional thing. And now it's actually something that I enjoy. Like I look forward to it. I like decorating it. And then I like coming to each spread and, you know, seeing what it looks like. And I kind of look forward to getting to use each spread because it's so pretty. So I think that can be an advantage of decorating that can actually help increase productivity in some cases. It might not be for everybody. This is just something that kind of I discovered in this particular case. My work planner and my on-the-go personal planner, I don't decorate at all. But I feel like in this case, it kind of really helped me kind of take my love for this planner to a new level. So that is one thing that I think can help with a planner slump. Another thing that I think can help is switching if you aren't feeling very satisfied with it. So, for example, for the last few months, I have been using these two planners as my gratitude journal and vision book. I talked about this a little bit in another video as well, so some of you might already know about this. I love both of these planners, but the problem with using them as gratitude and vision book is that the whole thing was like so cumbersome and unwieldy, and I had these two giant books and I didn't really feel like I didn't want to use them, basically. It was like a chore. And this is kind of related to the decorating thing. It's like if you feel like using your planner is a chore, or that you don't really want to do it, and you don't want to open it, then that's a sign that something is wrong. So Ms. Samantha X pointed that out in her video. It's like that kind of is the first sign that there's something wrong, because, like, you know, we love our planners, so we should want to use them. We should like want to open them. We should, you know, be excited about the next time that we get to use them. And I think with a gratitude book in particular, it's really important, because the whole point of a gratitude book is to make you feel better about your life and to focus on, you know, what you love. And so if you don't want to open it, then it's not achieving its purpose. And so even though I love both of these planners, I was kind of using them as a gratitude and vision book just because they happened to be spare, and I didn't want to, you know, buy a new planner, God forbid, even though I buy new planners all the time. And so I was sort of trying to make do with what I had. And I also, you know, I thought that it should work because I liked each of these planners individually, but it just felt like there was something that wasn't working, which is not to say that there was anything wrong with it. And obviously, you know, if I could never buy any planners, like say I went on a no spend and I just like signed a contract that I wouldn't buy any other planners for, I don't know, 6 months or whatever. Yeah, I could use them, but I wasn't really enjoying it for whatever reason. And I don't think that we should really feel bad about that. Like, I think there's a kind of, you know, the sort of frugal, thrifty side of us, like obviously we don't want to waste things, and you don't want to buy a planner and then not use it. But on the other hand, there's no point in, you know, doing it if it's a chore and you're not enjoying it. So when I bought this recklessly, this cat Hobonichi Weeks, which I loved, but I wasn't sure what to do with it. And I just decided at the very last minute to use it as my gratitude and vision book. And immediately I was so much happier, because it was like light, it's compact, it's portable. It has both of them together. It has everything that was in these two separate books. It's like all together in this compact little space. And also I got to use this cover, which I love, and I hadn't got to use this cover for a while. And this would be very easy to take with me if I go somewhere. And I just loved the layout. I loved seeing gratitude on one side, vision on the other side. And it was just the perfect setup. And immediately that transformed things. And now every day I look forward to getting to use this, which is totally different to before. Before I was just like, oh, that's another job I have to do before I go to bed. And now often, you know, like I carry around with me, and I often do it during the day just because I look forward to the chance to get to use it. So I think that's an example of a really dramatic difference where changing your medium can actually change how you feel about it and sort of like bring you out of a slump. So I think that it's quite important to recognize if, like, you know, if you do feel like you're not enjoying something, rather than this carrying on with it because you have to use up the planner, I think it's good to recognize it and say, like, I should be enjoying this. Is there anything I can do that would make me enjoy it? So in this case, I felt like I contemplated decorating it, and I felt like that wouldn't help because I somehow felt like it was something to do with this arrangement of planners for that purpose that wasn't working. And so this turned out to be the perfect solution. Another thing that I think can sometimes help is experimenting with different things, like different pens and different handwriting. So, for example, this is my old Hobonichi Weeks from 2016. So I have gone through a lot of different ways of using this planner. So like when I started off, I was using Friction pen, lowercase letters, and then I was highlighting tasks as I completed them. Then when the highlighters ran out, I switched to using pencil, and that just was making me depressed. I was not enjoying using this anymore. It was so grey. It was also a very bad time in my life, right? This time, this was when our dog Panda passed away, and so I wouldn't have been happy no matter what color pen I was using, but the pencil just kind of added to things. And so then I switched to fountain pen, and then I started using these colored pencils, and I still felt like it was messy, and it was just not, I wasn't really happy with it. And so then for some reason I decided, I think that I'd seen something on Instagram by, maybe it was Tiny Ray of Sunshine, the bullet journaler, who said that she switched to all caps from lowercase, and that made everything much neater. So I thought, maybe that's what's bothering me. I'll switch to all caps. So I switched from lowercase to caps, and immediately it was just like a different world. I felt like I liked it so much better, and I carried on with the all caps, and now I've actually started writing all caps in all of my planners. It's just somehow I feel like it makes the writing much neater, and I really like it much better. And so I arrived at this system by the end of the year, which I really, really like and I'm happy with. And that totally transformed things, because I was feeling like I just wasn't enjoying using my weeks. And I knew that the weeks wasn't the problem in this case, because it was the perfect layout. Everything was perfect about it. I loved it. I loved it at the beginning of the year when I first started using it. And I knew that it wasn't the planner in this case. So like, I don't have any systematic reason for feeling like why in the case of these two, I knew that it was the planner. And in this case, I knew that it wasn't. It was just somehow it felt right, if you know what I mean. So just changing from lowercase to caps like made all the difference. And I think also getting rid of the colors, because I just somehow felt like it was getting too messy, and I really liked this like nice clean layout just with the pen, and that has worked, and I've carried that forward into my new weeks, and I'm really, really happy with it. So I think that's another thing that can help, is to experiment with like different pens, different handwriting, color coding versus not color coding. Another thing that I think can help is switching your layout or size. So when I first decided to start keeping a home planner, which was, I guess, about 2 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago, I first started with a Hobonichi Cousin. That was actually the first Cousin that I ever bought, because I was using a Moleskine as my own planner at the time, and I was intrigued by the Hobonichi and wanted to try one. And so James and I decided that a home planner would be useful. So that was what our first Cousin was. It was a home planner. And I loved the Cousin. Straight away, I knew, I just loved everything about it. I loved the paper. I loved the layout. It was just the most incredible planner that I had ever encountered. But very quickly, it became apparent that it wasn't really going to work as a home planner. And the reason was that it was like too much planner for what we needed. So for a home planner, all we wanted to write down basically was our joint appointments. And that was pretty much it. And the Cousin is like, it's overkill. It has this weekly spread, which is quite detailed. And then it has the daily spread. And there was just no way that we could fill it up. So we were sometimes using it for random notes, but a lot of the pages were blank. And this is something that I often hear people say about the cousin is that they feel like they can't use it because they don't know how to use up all of the daily pages. And I totally know what they mean, because that was exactly what happened when we were using this as a home planner. It just wasn't suited to it. And so I decided to switch, and first switched into an A6 because I was so in love with Hobonichis. This was when I was like, first kind of discovering Hobonichis. So I decided to try the A6. And the A6 also ended up not working. And again, even though the A6 is much smaller, it's because it's a day per page and you actually can fit quite a lot on a page. And so if you're only keeping track of your joint appointments and like, shopping lists sometimes and occasional like to-dos that we both needed to remember to do, it's just too much planner. And so again, I felt like the planner was unfair to the planner because the planner wasn't being used to its full potential. And I could see that this planner would be amazing for something, but it was like it was going to waste. And it was also frustrating, seeing all the blank pages, and it just didn't feel right. And so we ended up moving into this week per page planner, which is perfect because that's exactly what we need. And, I can decorate it a bit, but this is quite decorated, but I put most of the stickers on after the fact. So this is what like kind of, that sort of it looks like at the beginning of the week. So this is great because you can put like one or two things on a sticker for the day, and it's quite compact. It's like bigger than A5, but because it's week per page, it doesn't, so it's quite economical with the space, and that's the perfect size that we need. We don't need any more than that, and it's just right. So we used this last year. Then I got sick of the spirals and had a foray into other planners, so I did kind of go straying from it, but now I've come back to it and have been using it for the last several months since August, which I think is pretty good for a planner addict, and I'm quite determined to use this for the rest of the year. But I don't think it will be a problem because we've kind of got into agree with it. It's the right setup for what we need. And so I think it was worth experimenting and trying different sizes. Another thing that you can do that might help, which is related to that, is completely switching your system. So for a while, I was using this pocket Filofax Domino as my personal planner. And I really like it. It's very cute. I like the design. I like this the strap reminds me of a traveler's notebook. And, it's like nice and compact. But I never really liked the rings. And I am not really a fan of the loose leaf system for planning. And so as the time went on, I kind of started feeling more and more like I wasn't really satisfied with it because of the rings. And I think that this is also something that I'd always felt. I'd always felt like I was not a ring person. And maybe that's because I never used rings, I kind of, until I got into the planner community, I always had a bound or a spiral planner. But I think some of it is always just somehow you just feel like, I think it's quite common in the planner community for someone to say like, I'm a rings person, or like I'm not a rings person, and it was just bugging me. And so finally I decided to switch to the Hobonichi weeks, and I just knew that was perfect, and that totally worked as my personal planner, and that's exactly what I wanted. So if I had kept on with this, I think I just would have got more and more demotivated until I probably would have stopped using it altogether. And then that's when planner fail hits. That to me, somehow that's planner fail, when you just stop using it. So, planner slumps, I kind of think of like when you're using it, but you don't really like it that much. Although, obviously, these terms are perhaps not official. So I guess a planner slump could also mean when you're not planning. But yeah, anyway, so I think that could be something to try as well, is, maybe it's not the right system for whatever reason. Another thing that I think can help is moving some information into or out of a particular planner. So, for example, last year when One Book July came, I decided to put everything into my weeks and my cousin, which is my work planner. So my work planner I kept the same as it was because it had all of my work stuff, and I decided to put everything else into my weeks, which was kind of just like a challenge. I wanted to see how much the weeks could handle, and indeed it could handle a lot. So I'd had things like, I had been using a Disc Agenda Manta. It was this planner, but in this cover. as a finance planner. So I was tracking all of my expenses and, my bank account balance. And so I decided to put it in here because I thought, like, this is silly. I have all these different planners. I'll just put it all in here. And it did actually work. There was enough space for it. But somehow having everything in here, like, let's see, this is July. I was putting gratitude, appointments, spending tracking, bank balance, habit tracking, to-dos, everything was going in here. And it's a testament to the incredible versatility and scope of the weeks that it fit it all in. It was not a problem. But I just felt like the spreads were really crowded and I just wasn't enjoying it. And I think some of it is because I do actually like using different planners and, I enjoy like, oh, now I get to use the Manta. And having it all in here was like taking away the opportunity to get to use different planners. And also it just felt too crowded. It was like there was too much going on in here. And so it was quite a relief when what happened is I just stopped doing finance tracking. I stopped tracking expenses. I kept tracking my bank balance and I still do that in my current weeks. But I stopped doing all the expense tracking. And, before I was like adding up how much I'd spent for the week and seeing how much we spent on food and how much I spent on planner supplies and stuff like that. And I just stopped doing that. And I kind of thought, oh, well, I don't need to do it anymore. But then after a few months, I started kind of getting into a bit of a financial panic again, which had what led me to start keeping a finance planner in the first place near the beginning of last year. And so actually putting it into here was like kind of what killed it off because I just didn't enjoy using it. Whereas beforehand, when it was in its own planner, I really enjoyed getting it out and adding up the total at the end of the week. And so now I have repurposed this planner, which was kind of failing as my vision book, and this has become my finance tracker. And so now I'm really enjoying putting all my expenses into it and, adding up the totals at the end of the week. And so I think that also sometimes like you don't realize, but somehow doing something which seems like it should be fine and makes sense actually ends up, kind of like making you lose your motivation for whatever you're doing. And I didn't put the two and two together. I just thought like, well, I don't really need to do it anymore. It was a bit excessive doing all of that tracking. But actually now that I've started doing it again, I feel kind of more in control because I know how much money I'm spending on things. And I think that's the point of the finance tracker is just, to kind of make you feel like you know how much you can spend and sort of where money is going. Anyway, so that was another thing that I thought was kind of instructive, is that, something that you might think it makes sense to put it somewhere, actually it might be better off somewhere else. And the opposite could be true as well. So like my bank balance, when I was keeping the finance planner, I was putting my bank balance in the finance planner every day. But because I have my weeks with me all the time, it kind of makes sense. And because it's such a small, it's just like a single number that you're writing, it works for me having it in here because then I don't have to go and get the finance planner. Whereas usually I write down my expenses for the day at the end of the day. So it's like not like I have to keep this with me all the time. I just go and get it at the end of the day and write down the expenses for the day. But for the bank balance, somehow it's convenient having it in here and being able to refer to it from day to day. So another thing that I find really, really helpful for keeping planner boredom at bay is to switch covers. And this is conveniently also a great excuse for buying covers. So if, like myself, you have a planner buying problem, then you might end up with some planners that you don't have a use for. Case in point, I love this and I ended up buying it even though I really don't have a good use for it in mind. So in order to kind of try to avoid this to some extent, I think buying covers is really good because it kind of satisfies the desire to try some new planners out, but they're timeless in that they don't have dates. Buying undated planners would serve the same function, but I think actually the covers are even better than that because you can switch them out. Whereas if you buy an undated planner and you have like 10 other planners, even if they're all undated, you can't use them all at the same time, or maybe you can, but I think even for me 10 would be my limit. Whereas like say if you have 10 different covers, the same planner can feel like a completely different planner in a new cover. So if you feel like you've just got sick of looking at this same planner all the time, you're like, oh, it's not, it's not making you excited. If you put a new cover on it, then it's all of a sudden like, ta-da, it's like a completely different planner. And the whole look and the feel of it is different. So like for my A6 Hobonichi, I've got this fabric cover. This is fabric on the outside and faux leather on the inside. This one is faux leather. This one is silicone. This one is faux leather. This one is fabric, but it's like, completely different, all colorful. And so having all of these different covers like kind of makes me feel like it's a constant surprise, and every time I put a new one on, it's like the planner takes on a completely different personality, because when you look at it when it's closed, it looks totally different. When you open it, it's the same planner, but somehow I think having a different cover just really gives it a new life. And so I think that that's a really nice way both of like kind of feeding the planner addiction and also being able to like kind of keep from getting bored with the same planner. So it's like you can trick your brain into thinking that it's now using a different new planner, even if it's actually the same planner. And it's also quite nice because it can be something to look forward to, getting to switch it. So I really like this cover, and I'm always sad whenever I switch it out, but then I get to see one of my other friends that I've missed for a while, and then after a while I'll rotate back to this one, and it's like, oh, I'm so happy to see you again. So I feel like you kind of build up a relationship with your different covers, and if you're rotating them, then it's always a nice surprise when you get to see the new one, and it keeps you from getting bored, and it kind of keeps things exciting, and then you can occasionally add a new one into the mix. So those are the different techniques that I think have helped when I have been in a planner slump, and I hope that you found this interesting. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts on planner slumps are and what you do to get out of them. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll be back again soon.